Chrissy. On this week's Test the Trend, I'm looking at Games Night. Now, when you think of board games, you tend to think of the classics such as Trivial Pursuit, Snakes and Ladders, Monopoly, Cluedo, but there is a whole depth and breadth of other games out there that go beyond the conventional. Just as an example, I'm standing in front of a beautiful piece of art created by Sarah Whalley, and this is of a year-long pandemic legacy game, and it just commemorates everything that went on throughout the whole campaign. I was introduced to games by her husband, Andy Whalley, who is a Games Aficionado. Andy, I've always enjoyed Games Night with you because you have introduced me to a whole series of games that go beyond Monopoly and Cluedo and all of the more conventional games that other people are familiar with. What do these style of board games have over things like Monopoly?
Well, I mean, Monopoly is a classic. And it gets people together and you know, having fun together, and that's what these games do. But they offer a deeper experience than something like Monopoly, which is very luck-based, where you roll the dice, and if you happen to get lucky, you win. If you don't get lucky, you know, there's a little bit of strategy, but not very much. Some of these games really get you thinking, really get you pondering your next move. Sometimes too much, but that's, you know, you get the table talk then.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago I was introduced to Citadels, and there's various incarnations of it, and it's a very simple game. You've got some cards, you've got some rules, and you can build the big extravagant city and try to beat your opponents.
Let's actually have a quick look at this one, because this one doesn't even have a board, does it? It's just literally played on cards. Do you have to concentrate a little bit harder, sort of learning about, I don't know, do you play characters, do you...
Well, the aim of the game is to build cities using these particular cards, and so you're investing in your different things that you can put in the city, and each player every round takes a role. So they might be playing the king or the queen or the architect, and they have different powers available each round. So it's not like a game like Monopoly where you're doing the same thing all the time. Every round changes, and so you can build a long-term strategy. I need to be this character this round, another character another round, so that I can achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And also you get these funky little things that look a bit like Werther's Originals.
It sounds really complex to get your head around in the first instance.
Some of them can be.
Right.
Some of them can be. So, for example, Mage Knight has 3 instruction books.
Oh,
but it takes time to get that first game out of the way. Once you've got one game out of the way, then you can just play it, and it becomes instinctive how to play it. We've been playing Time Stories. So Time Stories has a simple concept. You are time travelling detectives, basically looking back into the past to solve problems that have gone on, and it takes place on a board. But that board then has expansion packs which add on to it, so you are playing a different game every time you get that game out, which again is a different way of doing things. Some people like that, some people don't like that. Some people, it's almost kind of disposable. You play it once and then you kind of have to play a different one. Whereas something like Power Grid is the same game over and over again. This is one for the mathematicians. It's very deep strategy. There's a lot of interlinking things, and you have to think 3 or 4 turns ahead to.
That's really nice. And the thing I've heard about Pandemic is that it's cooperative. Now that's different to a lot of games I'm used to playing. So what does that mean?
It means that instead of one person in the group winning, then either everybody in the group wins or nobody wins. So you're playing against the board, you're playing against the game itself. There's certain rules, and so you either win as a collective or you lose. And that's a nice feature. It enables you to play games, but without having to have that competitive element. And it means that if one person in the group has played it before, they don't necessarily have an advantage. You're helping each other rather than competing against each other. So it just offers a different. Again, some people like that, some people don't. But it's about choice and options.
How much does a game like this cost?
They vary. So, £100.
Okay.
And £40-50 for most standard games, which might seem a lot. But like in the case of the legacy games, £50 maybe for the box, but we've played it 12 times. And if you think about a trip to the cinema or something like that, you're getting so much more value out of this. It's just a big chunk to pay at once. But over the course of the time that you play it, you actually get really good value out of any of these games.
So what do you look for when it comes to, say, value? I mean, this is a £100 game. What am I expecting to find in that?
Well, it's all about the amount of work that goes into making it.
Right.
So, for example, Gloomhaven is just chock full of stuff. It's got an enormous box, as you can see.
Yeah. Oh, it is packed.
It is packed to the rafters, like I say. We haven't started playing this yet, but there's the rule book, there's your board, and then these are all the bits which you have to disassemble in order to start playing the game. And it's just endless, and that's part of the fun of it. Part of the fun is that first time you break open these, and there's stickers and more books and lots of other things. I've no idea what these things are, but I'm sure they're fascinating. We're gonna have a lot of fun playing them.
So if someone wants to try one of these games, what would be your recommendation?
A really good game to get started would be Pandemic. This is an expansion pack, and a different version of Pandemic Iberia. They've produced a lot of different versions. Pandemic is a really nice game. Once you get your head around the rules, it's very simple. It's cooperative, so again, you can get a group of friends together and you don't have to compete against each other, you can just play. Munchkin is silly. It's you basically throwing stupid weapons at each other and trying to make your way up to the top level. Some of these games take a long time. That's another thing you have to think about. Some games take a long time to play, so Pandemic might take 3 or 4 hours to play one game, whereas some of the games are a lot shorter, a lot quicker. Pandemic, about an hour for a standard game, unless you play it like us, in which case it's probably longer than that.
Good value.
Yeah, it depends what you're looking for. You wouldn't necessarily start off with Mage Knight. It's quite complicated, quite complex. But Pandemic is definitely a good starting point.
The whole thing about games, though, is that because it's perceived as quite a niche hobby, people don't really talk about it. So if you do want to have a go at playing some of these games, there are board game cafes where you can actually give things a go without commitment, and also check out some of the reviews on game forums as well. But for now, I'm certainly happy to say I'm Audrey and I'm a gamer.